Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're a Revit user who's looking to, totally supercharge your workflow, then you're going to want to stick around. Today we're unlocking one of the most powerful tools in the entire Revit ecosystem, Dynamo. So let's just dive right in.
We're going to keep this super simple and fast. First up, we'll break down what Dynamo actually is. Then we'll get into why it is such a game changer for your daily work. After that, we'll take a quick peek under the hood to see how it all works. And finally, we'll put it all together and build a cool parametric vase from scratch.
All right, so let's tackle the big question first. What is Dynamo? You've probably heard the name thrown around, but let's break it down into a really simple concept that you can get your head around instantly.
Okay, at its heart, Dynamo is a visual programming tool that lives right inside of Revit. And that phrase, visual programming, is the key. It means you can completely forget about staring at scary lines of code. Instead, you're going to be connecting these simple little blocks together to build incredibly powerful instructions or scripts.
Honestly, the absolute best way to think about it is like building with Legos. Each block, which Dynamo calls a node, has one specific job. And you just connect these nodes together with wires to create a chain of commands. You just snap one piece onto the next, and suddenly you've built a whole set of instructions that tells Revit exactly what to do. It's so intuitive, it's creative, and believe it or not, it's actually a lot of fun.
Okay, so it's visual and it's like Legos. I get it. But why should you actually use it, right? What problems does it solve for you in your day-to-day work? Let's talk about the real-world benefits.
Look, here's the most important part. Dynamo saves you a ridiculous amount of time. Just imagine a task that takes, say, 4 hours of just mind-numbing clicking, like renaming 500 rooms to a new standard. With a simple Dynamo script, you can get that done in literally 10 seconds. It lets you manage project data intelligently, like pulling info from your model into Excel and sending it right back, and it helps you generate these really complex, beautiful, organic shapes that would be an absolute nightmare to model manually. At the end of the day, it just handles the grunt work so you can actually focus on design.
All right, we've covered the what and the why. So now let's get into the how. But don't worry, we're not going to get lost in a bunch of technical jargon here. We're just going to look at the simple, core ideas that make the whole thing tick.
It really all comes down to these three things. First, you've got your nodes and wires. Those are your Lego blocks and the connectors. Simple. Next, you have inputs and outputs. That's basically the information going into a node and the result that comes out. And all of this together lets you do some really powerful scripting without ever having to write a single line of traditional code. It's pretty amazing.
And to make things even clearer, the interface uses this dead simple color coding system. If a node needs information from you, that's called an input, and its little port is marked in red. When that node produces a result, that's an output, and its port is marked in green. It's just a simple visual cue that helps you understand the flow of information at a glance.
So let's demystify that word, script. In the world of Dynamo, a script is just the set of visual instructions that you've built. It's your complete recipe. You take your nodes, you connect them up with your wires, and the final thing that pops out at the end, that's your result. That's your output. It's really that straightforward.
Okay, enough with the theory. The best way to really understand Dynamo is to see it in action. So for our last section here, we're going to walk through a simple, practical example. We're going to build a parametric vase.
Yeah, so we're going to create a piece of geometry that would be pretty tricky to model by hand. But what's even cooler is that we're going to build it so you can easily change its shape just by tweaking a few numbers. This is where Dynamo just absolutely shines. Every script has to start somewhere, right? For our vase, the foundation is just a simple circle. So we'll start with a node called Circle by Center Point Radius to create the base of our object. Easy enough.
And now we just build on that. We can use a geometry.translate node to copy that first circle and just move it straight up. We can also change its radius a little bit to start giving our vase some shape. Let's add another layer. We're just going to repeat the process, right? Place a third circle even higher up, maybe make this one a little wider to form the body of the vase. You can start to see how we're just stacking these simple, repeatable instructions on top of each other. And to finish off the basic form, we'll add our fourth and final circle at the very top, which is going to define the opening. So right now, if you looked at our script, it's just generated 4 simple circles, all just kind of floating in space. And now for the magic part. We take all 4 of those circles and we feed them into one single node called solid.loft. And boom!
Dynamo instantly takes those profiles and creates a smooth, continuous surface between all of them. In just a few visual steps, we've created this beautiful, complex shape that is completely parametric.
So there you have it. We've gone all the way from the basic definition of Dynamo to actually building a piece of parametric geometry. We've seen that it's not about complex coding, it's really about thinking logically and visually. And the crucial takeaway here is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This exact same process, connecting nodes, can be used to automate window placement, to manage huge sets of project data, or to design incredibly complex building facades. Which, of course, leaves just one question. What will you build first?